You know what I miss about having a Republican president? And don't get me wrong, we've had great Republican presidents. We've had awful Republican presidents, many. It's not that. You know what I miss? I miss that every time the president went overseas, I was never going to be embarrassed. I remember this like it was yesterday. Every time Obama went overseas, because he's a filthy America-hating communist, he would always go overseas and just dog on us, apologize for us. America's always screwed up. And so every time they would announce he was going overseas, I would wince. Joe Biden will do that too. Oh yeah, America sucks, same commie stuff. Only Joe Biden found a way to one-up how embarrassing Obama was. Now, not only is he an America-hating commie, he just sounds like he's half freaking dead.
Years ago, I asked the Secretary of State when he and I were working in the Senate to write something to our man. He said, he wrote a line that I think is appropriate. He said, it's not, we lead, not just, well, I won't go into it. I'll wait later. Taking too much time.
What do you think they think when they look at our president? And forget him ever taking a bold stance on something. A bunch of dirty terrorists blew themselves up and apparently some of their own people at a hospital in Gaza. And this is the very solid statement the president made about it.
I was deeply saddened and outraged by the explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday. And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you. But there's a lot of people out there not sure. So we've got to overcome a lot of things.
What does he even say? I don't even understand what he says. I mean, he sounds like me, and I'm sick as a dog. I bet Drew is going to figure all this out. Joining me now, my buddy Drew Berquist. He is the host of This Is My Show, former counterterrorism officer. Drew, did one of these dirtballs blow himself up again? They do that from time to time, as you well know.
They do. You got to be good at something, right? This whole thing's a mess. Sorry you're not feeling well, brother. Glad to be here with you. His whole visit there is a joke. We got lots of gaffes from it. We got lots of just nonsensical statements, and there's lots of people who have played into this whole attack, what it was, what it wasn't. A lot of people, not just in political positions and geopolitical leadership positions across the globe, but of course people online and whatnot. All of this stuff, people just got to take with a grain of salt. There's such a thing as fog of war for a reason. We've got people who jump to conclusions so damn fast, and that's never helpful in these situations.
Drew, I'll tell you something I can't get off my mind when it comes to all this stuff, because we're not hyper-focused on everything over there. Obviously, we bring it up, is I think about my own country, and you mentioned fog of war and the misinformation and the lies and how fast they spread. This is on, and with all due respect to all the deaths and everything over there, a relatively small regional conflict right now. And all anybody can talk about is this story or that story and this lie and that lie. What if there's a gigantic war, a World War III type thing? Nobody would have a clue about anything. Think about this times 1,000. That would be us.
Yeah, it absolutely would. There's so many people here in positions of power and leadership that should know what's going on, don't. They're so ignorant, it's ridiculous. I've experienced it for a long, long time overseas. You see how just even to your point, whether it's this conflict or this region or this country, how off the mark they are. It's always astonished me. But yes, this would be on steroids. And right now it is. Part of your point there. I mean, the bigger point is just how chaotic and how confused everyone would be, obviously. But this is a smaller regional conflict. There's a lot of smaller regional conflicts going on. The scary thing with all of them, of course, is the fact that we have zero leadership back home. And the ability of any one of those, if not all of those, to scale is what I think has everyone concerned about. People shouldn't get wrapped around the axle of who did this or who did that. How about let's just figure out what the hell we got to do to not let this thing balloon and blossom into something much bigger.
What happened in Iraq? Why are two drones trying to strike one of our base in Iraq?
So, look, there's a lot of hubbub about this story this week, and there should be. Anytime someone goes after our troops, There should be discussion. There should be concern. There should be all of that. There should be who did this. But you have these types of things happen all the time in Iraq. It's been, well before this newer conflict got hotter and kind of popped off. You've got Iranian-backed militias, Iranian-backed groups in the territory who go after bases. Typically, will try and do things to just piss people off, not necessarily maybe destroy equipment and what have you. Let you know that they're there. And I think that's what you have here. Thankfully, they were intercepted. Nothing significant happened from it, other than the fact that it's, again, a reminder that Iran hates us. Iran is going to do anything and everything they can to destabilize the region. They do a hell of a job doing it. And they're going to be ever present there. So you're going to continue to see these things happen. Obviously, in the context of the war that's going on over there, there's more concern about it and it matters. But I will just remind everyone, these types of things happen all the time. You just don't always hear about it.
Drew, Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping just had a little powwow. And this comes on the heels of, a U.S.-based system being used against Russia for allegedly the first time in Ukraine. I think that's hilarious they're calling it the first time, but still, for the first time in Ukraine. Are we supposed to connect any dots here?
Well, there's a lot of dots. I mean, first and foremost is as I think we've discussed before, I think the most important thing with this relationship is how it's blossoming. And it's blossoming not just on strategic and tactical levels, but economic levels. $190 billion in trade between the two last year. This friendship's getting tighter, and as they get tighter and they bring in other people all around them, it sparks disaster for us because we're getting left behind on so many fronts. Again, economically, strategically, in terms of what people are doing on the continent of Africa, even, or you name it, some other place that no one pays attention to. China and Russia are playing the long game. In terms of the actual strike itself, I think it's just a stark reminder of how anytime we have these announcements of here's the latest technology that the United States is sending over, it's not just the funding, but then you'd get into, okay, well, what is the technology? What is the equipment and weaponry that's being sent? And you see these things, and every time that something such as this missile system would go over, you're like, well, that's not good, because this is going to be used like small arms could be, but on a much bigger scale and further reach into different territories. This is going to be used to attack Russians and Russian installations, which is what happened here. They hit 2 different Russian installations, and all this is another opportunity for things to escalate. And everyone's super focused. Americans can only focus on one thing at a time. So everyone's super focused on the new hot war in Israel. That might expand, and I hope and pray it doesn't, but it likely is going to expand some beyond where it is now. Meanwhile, they've forgotten about the conflict going on over there, which we shouldn't be in, we shouldn't be a part of, but we are. And you've got Zelensky taking a break from dancing to fire missiles at Russian bases that we gave him.